So, hi, this is Dr. Felicia of Adderley Physiotherapy, and you are tuned into the Banked Out Radio Show.
Hey, look, you nailed it the first try.
Yeah. Told y'all this was a movement. Taking over your ways. You dig? Banked out. Banked out. Banked out. Banked out. Banked out. East to west, we getting banked out. North to south, we getting banked out. Worldwide, we getting banked out. Yeah. One time for the team that's gon' hustle for the green. All we know is grind till the dough come. This the Banked Outt Radio Show. We controlling the globe and we second to no one. Every time we emerge, we putting that work in. Banked Outt, do it for the culture. Putting on for the city that's 24/7. And we showing love like we supposed to. And we keep making moves by coastal. None of those suckers didn't believe, but I told you. Banked Outt about to be a household name. And Banked Outt mean we about more change. You don't even know just how I really get. You're rocking with the best, so tuned in where you better be. Plus you're getting fancy like Nancy on every single day of the week. And chopping game like a Cherokee. Ballin' like Odell, tryna step more meal. Networking every way is about to be a movie. Gotta go big, it's the only way to do it. It's a conglomerate, we get into it. Plus we got heat for the streets while you puffin' on the cook shop leaf. Riding out on the interstate, we got indies and majors. We international players, all about getting paid. Make sure to tune in and tap in with the movement, cause it's about to go down. Shout out Discover this, captain of the mothership. If you ain't know, then you know now. We about to get bang. Banked Outt Radio Show.
I can't stand you sometimes.
You're being live streamed. Yeah, everybody, you're tuning into Banked Outt Radio Show again. Thank you for tuning in earlier. We have our second interview for today. We have Miss Felicia, who is the owner and proprietor of Adderley Physiotherapy. I said it right.
You got it right. Perfect.
Yay. And she's based in the Bahamas. Woohoo. Isn't it like perfect weather out there all the time, pretty much?
No, not all the time, despite what you might see on the TV screen. It's actually a very overcast day here, but I would say that we do enjoy pretty great weather for most of the year. You can tell the weather pattern is shifting a little bit. So we're seeing more rainy months than we used to. But I mean, we appreciate the beautiful days, that we do have, which I think is still far more than a lot of other places that I have perhaps been to or spent time living in. So we're grateful. It's still paradise.
It doesn't get cold down there, correct?
Not what you all would call cold. What we call cold is about 60 degrees.
Really?
50 something. Yes. People are pulling out the coats and the hats and the boots. If it's what is
a hot day?
A hot day is 90. We get 90 something degree weather. Hardly ever. We don't really get to like 100 very often, but we do get like to the 90s, and we would call that definitely a hot day. So,
It's usually between like 70 and 80 something degrees.
Oh no, it's usually in the 80s. Most of the time it's in the 80s. Okay. Yeah, we have some pretty warm weather here, but we do say that it's hot. We do feel it when it's hot. And but we like it kind of like medium, but we do get some pretty hot weather here. So I would say 80s is pretty like regular. Usually once the summer weather rolls around, it's with us for a while. So we like it when we have a few cold fronts running through. That kind of keeps us comfortable for a while, because we know when summer really hits, it's going to hit us hard.
I got a whole list of questions, but anyway, let's talk about your business.
I know, like this is a weather report, right?
How long have you had Adderley Physiotherapy? And for everybody out there, explain what that is in particular.
Okay, so I'll start with the second part of the question, which is, what is Adderley Physiotherapy? So it's basically, the name is a combination of who I am and what I do. So I'm Dr. Felicia Adderley. I am a physiotherapist, which is really saying the same as physical therapist. Okay, so the same thing. We just call it by a different name here in the Bahamas. And I did actually train in the US in Erie, Pennsylvania, where back to the weather, it was not nearly as nice as it is here. So I appreciate it much more now.
Mhm.
And basically, what I do as a physiotherapist is I help persons get back to like their full function, try to get back as close to their prior level of function as they would have had perhaps before some injury. We do promote a lot of preventative work as well. So we want to help persons that perhaps they are sports enthusiasts and maybe they golf or they run. So we want to help them to avoid injury. We want to give them the tips, the strategies, and the tools so that they can perform at their optimal function without risking injury to themselves. Because, of course, a lot of times persons get injured, perhaps not doing the correct training for the particular muscles that would be specific to the sport that they're doing. And perhaps even from simple things like not doing a proper warm up and cool down. So those are the kinds of things that we seek to provide education on and also training on so that persons are able to avoid those pitfalls and not still need to come back to the physical therapist for several more sessions after they have actually perhaps injured themselves. So we see different diagnoses. We see things like strokes. We see persons that have Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis. We see persons after car accidents and help them regain their strength, learn to walk again. We see persons for cancer rehabilitation because there are many different areas that a person can specialize in physical therapy or physiotherapy. One of my specialties is oncology or cancer rehabilitation, and I hold some certifications and I've done a lot of continuing education so that I can best assist my clients. Now, as for the first part of the question, how long I have been operating, I have been the proprietor of Adley Physiotherapy. I've had a physical location for 5 years here in the Bahamas. So I'm 5 years into private practice. I've been a therapist for 9 years, however, and I started in the hospital system.
So you're not a rookie at this.
No, I'm not new to this.
You're not new to this. So I like the fact you was talking about the sports related injuries, rehabilitating people, and then also I got some questions about the cancer side as well. So let's start with the sports. Is there a particular injury that you see a lot where you're rehabbing people from? And if so, which sport is that from?
That's a really good question. We do see a lot of hamstring strains. We
Mhm.
also would see even some Achilles tendon injuries. Let's see, lots of strains, lots of muscle strains. And a lot of that can be due to ACLs as well. Lots of ACL tears, some meniscus tears as well. The specific type of sport that we would see the most of these things from really is just a function of which sports are popular here in this country, which track and field is very popular. Basketball is popular as well. So those are the ones that you tend to see a lot of injuries from. You get some people coming in that are weekend warriors too that may have just pushed themselves a little bit too hard, but you do get a lot of injuries from basically the track and field and also basketball because they have historically been very popular here in the Bahamas. So that is something that we would see quite frequently.
Okay. Um, okay, so Bahamas is a tourist destination. Do
Most
y'all,
definitely.
y'all treat tourists if they come and then they like say if they have like some minor injury or something like that, or have people flown to your particular private practice to be treated by you?
I would say that's really getting into like medical tourism, which this is a very interesting question. And I think that you're really on to something there. I think it is something that some larger corporations locally have tried to promote. I'm not quite sure if it has caught on really, really well, but I mean, who wouldn't want to be rehabilitated in paradise, right? And I think that's an excellent opportunity. I wouldn't say that I have seen much of it where I am. A lot of persons, and it may also be that persons would call, and I've had a few persons may call and try to get a therapist that will come out to them, like more so concierge therapy, which is also something that I offer. And I have seen it a bit, but I haven't seen it a whole lot. And I think that there is a huge opportunity there, though, for persons that would want to come in. Hey, you can go and get some aquatic therapy, maybe out there in the ocean, beautiful scenery. I mean, I think it does wonders also just for mental health and wellness, also to be able to do your rehabilitation in a place that's as beautiful as this. So it's like you're getting the best of both worlds. They would get excellent medical care and treatment, but they would also be able to do it in a beautiful surrounding. So it's kind of like a medical vacation. So I think that's a huge, huge opportunity right there and a wonderful thought and idea.
Oh, okay. Yeah, look at that. I'm a forward thinker. Um,
I like that.
where exactly are you located in the Bahamas? Like, which city?
I'm in Nassau. So the Bahamas is actually made up of about 700 islands and keys, we would say. They're not all inhabited. Some of them are private. Some of them are really just a large rock
Mhm.
that maybe have like a resort or something on them. And you may have heard of some famous people that would own some keys here in the Bahamas. I'm in Nassau, which is the capital. It's
Mhm.
21 miles by 7 miles, and it actually has the vast majority of the population, which is about 400,000 people at the last census. So we're here. This is the capital. This is city life, but still really very islandy, right? So that's where I am. I'm kind of located in like what we would consider to be here more of the medical district,
Mhm.
uh, like in the middle of town.
Okay, so basically you're in a great location and you're in the best city.
Yes. You want to be where the people are.
Yeah, 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 definitely. Because I know how, what I'm saying, it would be hard to get services to people in rural areas. I got to deal with that here. I'm in Georgia, south of Atlanta, so about an hour and a half. I'm in the city or whatever, but there's other smaller towns out in rural Georgia, and these other different counties and stuff that where access to medical facilities and good medical facilities is a challenge for some, especially if they don't have the resources to be able to transport themselves, things of that nature. So when you decided to jump into private practice, what was that like for you as far as transitioning into that, and then also what did your peer group think? Um, like family, friends, former coworkers, things of that nature.
Very good question. For me, I have always wanted to own my own business. I would say that most of my family is very conscientious. We have a lot of business owners in our family. And when you trace back the characteristics of the people that come from the different islands of the Bahamas, very interesting. They have usually each their own dialect or way that they speak. They
Hmm.
have each their own values. And I would say the island that my mother's family comes from, they tend to be people that when you look in the community now in Nassau and you look at what they have basically turned out to be and turned out to do, they are a lot of them business owners. So basically, when I decided that I wanted to be a physiotherapist or physical therapist, I also decided at the same time at the age of 15 that I would also want to be in my own practice. So basically, yes, I'm that way. I'm kind of like a doggedly determined, self-motivated kind of person. So once I make a decision, I usually would keep at it until I see the end result or the goal. So my goal was to actually open up this practice by the time I was 35. And I believe I was kind of propelled just due to situations and circumstances to doing it actually earlier than that. So I was working, as like I said, I got started in the hospital system. So I was working for one of the local hospitals. And I did that for about 2 years, which it really was an excellent experience, good exposure. And I would have needed that. I really did need that foundation to start. I don't think that starting out of the gate in my own practice would have worked out as well as it has. So I know that that experience and that time was really worth something, and it was something that I needed. And then it was very interesting. Like I said, it was quicker than even I thought I would come out on my own. I somewhat eased out into kind of like a halfway situation, not all the way on my own, but in something of a almost like a partnership. So I was able to kind of like ease out halfway for the first year and then like take the plunge and the jump to like do it on my own following that. And I would say it was probably met with somewhat mixed reviews. I think some persons expected me to do that because they saw my work ethic and, what I could do. Not only as a skilled therapist, but, it's one thing to be good at something, but then it's also another thing to actually be professional while you're doing it. And then also to have that conscientious spirit and to be able to keep going, in the face of whatever, because entrepreneurship is no joke. Being a business owner, no joke.
I tell people that all the time. I actively have 5 businesses.
Right.
So this is like one of many.
I can relate. I think it's another thing that a lot of us entrepreneurs fall into. We have so many ideas. It's like, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. And sometimes it can be a little bit, first of all, it's a lot. It's overwhelming at
Yeah,
times.
it is.
And it's almost like it's hard to stay focused. So
Mhm.
it's one thing. I don't know if you ever feel this way, if one thing may be suffering because you
No,
are like dividing your attention.
it's happening right now.
Yes, hashtag I
Yes.
can relate. I can relate
Mhm.
for sure. But I think entrepreneurs are very, very, very special people.
Mhm.
And I don't think that everybody is cut out to be an entrepreneur and that is okay. I
Yes.
think it's okay because we need people to also work in these businesses that we're starting because, contrary to what we may believe, we can't actually do it all on our own.
No,
And we
we
do
can't.
need,
Then we don't have, you don't have a good work product when you try to do it all on your own.
it's
Because
not the
we all
same.
have the same amount of time in a day.
It's not the same. What do they say? Beyonce has the same 24 hours. Beyonce
Uh-huh.
has a team,
Yes, exactly.
a tight one at that, I am quite sure.
Yes.
But yes, I was just telling you about how, it's some people I think were inspired because I'm not necessarily a person, I would say in the past, the other persons that would have opened up their own practices or in our country that were business owners
Mhm.
tend to be persons that quote unquote come from money.
Mhm.
So have like a really good like foundation or start or, but it's really like a started from the bottom. I don't necessarily feel like I'm here yet,
Mhm.
but I feel like I'm holding my own.
Mhm.
And I think that a lot of persons have been inspired by that to feel like they can do it too. They can do something for themselves.
Mhm.
They can maybe start a practice or start another type of business because I have done it and I have been doing it for 5 years. And 2 of those years have been in a pandemic and economic downturn.
Yeah,
So
now that's
even
actually what I was going to ask you about. How did COVID really affect your business? Because COVID, regardless of where it was in the world, you don't want to be contaminated by it and infect yourself and stuff. So, a lot of places like, doctor's offices, things of that nature, had to, everyone had to like, come up with these protocols and stuff, and that slowed down business dramatically. So how did it affect yours?
Well, we were definitely affected by the pandemic for a few different reasons. So, of course, everything basically came to a screeching halt
Mhm.
for, I would say, about 3 months, March, April, May. Pretty much everybody was ordered to go home and stay there.
Mhm.
And, it was that time when you could only come out for like groceries. Like, even though I'm medical, they shut all the therapy down as well. And it
Mhm.
was a while before they would let us get back. So we couldn't do anything. We couldn't come into our offices to see patients. We could not go to their homes to see them. So it was really hard on my business, on my patients and clients. It was really like kind of like a heart-wrenching time. But that is when I also turned to start doing a lot more online.
Mhm.
So even though there were a lot of barriers here to, what the insurance would reimburse and cover, we did the best that we could. So even though insurance would not reimburse me for seeing patients online. The ones that wanted to continue online, I went ahead and I did so, just in the effort of keeping them going so that they wouldn't be like back at square one when things did reopen. So we have had, we've dealt with lockdowns, we've dealt with shutdowns, we've had to come up with different protocols and policies. We've met with pushback from some people because our culture is a little bit different. We don't necessarily like change over here. So we've definitely been met with some resistance, but we've done everything that we could do to keep clients as well as staff safe. But I think overall, I think that's a part of the challenge of being an entrepreneur as well, is it's kind of like now it's like, let's see who the real entrepreneurs are, because it was kind of easy before. But now it's like, this is a real challenge and one that you've not met before. So it's like, you're going to rise to this challenge. How are you going to do it? I've now learned that business is really a constant pivoting situation. Even though the word pivot has just seemed to become so popular now, that's really what business is, because you have to keep innovating. Things are constantly going to be changing, not always as drastically or as quickly as they did with the pandemic and the economic downturn, because also, as you mentioned, this is mainly a tourist town. So with our hotels being closed and no tourists, for a long time, past that 3 months, just starting to get back now. So there is a trickle down effect, because then all the people that work in the hotel, they didn't have it to spend, anybody whose workplace closed down, then they didn't have it to spend. So even, when we reopen, people are really more so thinking about the necessities. If someone is facing losing their home, they're not thinking about coming to spend money at your place, so they have to take care of first things first. So it's been very, very interesting. There have definitely been challenges, but I think it's been a great time for me and for this company as well to grow. So it has forced me to go online more, and I love the online space. I get to meet people like you and be on shows like this, tell more people about what I do, reach more people. I certified as a health coach so that I could help people not just that are injured, but help more people that just want to get their health together, their fitness, their wellness, the whole person, and focus on deep health, not just dealing with the physical. Because, think about times like today. We have so much that we're dealing with. So many people are dealing with stress. They're dealing with their finances not being in a good state. They're dealing with things going on in their job. So instead of just looking at the physical part, now I'm able to assist them with really the pillars of wellness, the 8 pillars of wellness, I call them. So able to really just do so much more and reach more people online rather than just who I could reach from my office here in the Bahamas. So now I can take it to the world. So that's where I'm at right now.
This was up. Learn how to diversify and pivot, and like you said, do more, and learn how to expand your business by doing that. So the pandemic was actually a good thing in some things, because a lot of new technologies and new services and different ways of looking at um, just how stuff flows in general came out of it. Um, I did have a question. So you said you did do some time in the United States. Was that like during a residency or something, or what was your time in the States related
Oh,
to that?
well, I actually trained in the US. So my degrees, when I went to get I stayed here at home for, I would say, about 2.5 years. I got my associates, and then I transferred to a university in Erie, Pennsylvania. And I got yes, much different. Yes, go ahead. I know you got a follow-up question. Go ahead. I can see.
How did you find? First of all, Erie, Pennsylvania is small, from my knowledge. I've never been there, but I think I've heard about it and it's small. So how did you find out about that school?
What's so weird about it, even though it's such a tiny city,
Uh-huh.
And it's really just like a little college town, but it was
Uh-huh.
perfect for me. Like, instead of being in a big city, I
Yeah.
found out about it because it's on like a list of schools that the Ministry of Education here in the Bahamas provided some scholarships to. And someone told me
Okay.
about it because they had the physical therapy program there. And at that time, so many of the, I think, master's programs were being phased out. I was having a difficulty in finding a school.
Mm-hmm.
And so someone was like, "Oh, did you hear of such and such?" So I went ahead and I applied. And that's how I found out about it. It is really like the tiniest little town and the tiniest little school. And it's because it's a little private university. And even people that lived in like Buffalo or like Philadelphia, like they don't really have a heightened awareness of this school. And somehow way here in the Bahamas, I find out about this school and end up going there. And so I transferred and I started in January. I started the January term. So when I went into snow.
What is it? Lizards and stuff.
This is why I can now I can appreciate the beaches here. I can
Uh-huh.
appreciate the sunshine. It
Yeah.
really takes leaving. And it was a time to like expand my horizons. It
Mm-hmm.
takes leaving a place sometimes to
Mm-hmm.
be able to appreciate it. Because if I had never gone and experienced something else,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have known. Like I know what it is to shovel your car out of the snow. I know what it is for your car to get stuck in ice. I
Mm-hmm.
know what it is to experience rain, sleet, snow, and hail
Mm-hmm.
all on the walk from your apartment to
Yeah.
class. I
How
know
long?
what an ice storm is when you can barely get you to skate to class because you're slipping down, so it was a different experience, but now I know also how to appreciate the different seasons because we don't have like that change here. We don't go through the trees losing all the leaves and all of that. So I've, been experienced. Now I have an experience of watching the seasons change
Yeah.
and, just meeting different people and seeing how other people live. It's,
People.
I really, it was interesting. I have to say it was an interesting
How
experience.
long were you there?
Oh, I was there, I would say I was there several years because I did my bachelor's as well as my doctorate there. And I've got like a twisty story. So like
Uh-huh.
I finished my bachelor's. I was there, I think 2012 to probably about, let me see, 2015, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And let me see, 2012 to 2015. Let me see if I got my timeline correct. But I had to like split it up. No, I was there 2002 to 2005 and finished my bachelor's. And then I started the graduate program. And then everything went sideways because, life has to happen, right? We have
Mm-hmm.
our plans, but life happens. So I had to like leave school for a couple of years and come back home and work and then go back and finish. I was able to go back and finish. So sometimes the dream is deferred, but I did get here nonetheless.
Yeah.
So I had a 2-part stint there.
Did you travel outside of Erie, Pennsylvania, to the other towns and stuff like that in Pennsylvania or any other states?
A little bit. I had an opportunity. We had a few interesting trips across the border to Canada as well. I would say it was an interesting time, I have to say. So we did a couple of road trips, things like that, like sometimes with other students, for different reasons. I remember once we did, because they would have little trips and things like that too. So again, like I would have had the opportunity, let's say one Christmas day, like had a trip where they took us to go and see the Nutcracker.
Mm-hmm.
It was my first experience, like to see something on that scale, to go to that type of event. We have productions here, but in the Bahamas, but of course they're on a smaller scale, smaller theaters, So, but things like, you get to go to like a ballet or an opera, that kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
you don't
Uh,
necessarily have that.
what is it? One of the United States' GDP categories is entertainment. We produce more entertainment than anywhere in the world, which is hilarious to me. That's one of the things that we stayed number one at. Like we outsourced a lot of different stuff, but not entertainment. We're now outsourcing that.
Yes, Americans love to be entertained. I get it. I'm like
Yes.
the basketball games, like the entertainment industry is huge.
Yeah.
Like you said, the celebrities, the movie
Mhm.
stars, the athletes, they're the highest paid, you know? So yeah, it's very interesting, but that's just the difference. That's just the difference in culture,
Mhm.
and when you that's why I think travel is really important. You get to see how different people live, and we all think differently. So to come to the States and live among Americans was a
Mhm.
different experience too, because the values are different, it's just really interesting. And
It's different across all of America.
that's another thing, like even
There's no
within
consistency here.
no consistency, boy.
I could go from one city where I'm at to another city. Yeah, it's different. You just got to know how to navigate. It
Right.
took me. I went to a school down here. I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee. And I went to a school that's in Fort Valley, Georgia, which going from like what you did, it's the same thing that you did. You went from a huge city, 400,000, to smaller places, probably no more than maybe 10 at the max. And I did the same thing in college, and it took me 2 years to adjust. That's just being American, just across the state lines.
But you're right, because it's like every city has its own little subculture.
Hmm.
People are different. It's like the whole soda pop,
Hmm.
or like the language is different. But it's a part. I think we can find the beauty in the differences if we can respect each other and
Yeah,
just appreciate the differences. I think that's what makes the world interesting. It'd be really boring if we were all the same.
yeah. Oh, it would be. It would be. So, what are some of the challenges you faced that you didn't necessarily know when becoming an entrepreneur? I love hearing different people's things like they've learned, or because we can do so much research, right?
Right.
It's not until we jump into it and actually start, living this life as an entrepreneur that we're like, what? Hold on.
Like a lot of times I want people to know, like, this is not me trying to discourage you from opening your business, but like, hey, it's different on the other side. And
Yeah.
it's not what you think it is. It looks beautiful from the outside.
Uh-huh.
Like you do not know. Like, last night I was up until like 12:30. It's like, man, I got homework to do. I got all of this stuff I got to do. The part that you see is like it's like an iceberg. Like you probably see about 10%, and it's like 90% more going on beneath the surface. Like it takes so much to make it happen, sustain it, and grow it, because you can't only just be maintaining. Like you have to be growing it. A business is a living thing. First
Yeah.
thing I learned was that my biggest expense was not going to be rent. It was actually going to be payroll.
Yes. Payroll is
That's the first thing I learned. That's the first thing. And then it's like, okay, I didn't know how hard it was to manage staff. Like, man, like
I hate,
I didn't know like that talent. Pardon me?
no, I'm sorry. I process payroll at one of my other businesses. It's a counseling business, mental health. And I think I have like 12 to 15 people on payroll. Every time I do payroll, I cringe. I do it every Tuesday. So when Monday rolls around, I'm like, oh, God, I got to do
It takes so much. Like, I don't think
the
people
amount of money
appreciate.
you see paying out. It's like, oh, yes. But that's what we signed up for. Seven to be
Like,
crazy.
sometimes you still want to know, did I sign up for all this? Like if I
Uh,
had known like half of what it really takes. So like that's definitely one thing. Then, like I said, the talent acquisition and retention, training, like it's like that time, that effort, that pouring into, to really get like the human resource part of it together. Learning it's harder to let people go than I thought it was.
mhm.
I thought it would be like, oh well, if a person isn't performing, then you just have to cut them loose. Much harder than I thought it was. You don't realize necessarily like how like you feel bad about it, even if the person like absolutely wasn't a good fit, or maybe they're rude or whatever the case is, you still feel awful. Like it
You,
feels terrible. It feels terrible to fire someone. It feels terrible.
for the crown.
What's that?
Heavy is that? Heavy is the one
Heavy,
who
yeah, heavy as the head and the neck.
yeah.
Where's the crown?
Hey,
It's not just the glory. No one's telling you about all this other stuff.
exactly.
Like,
They didn't tell me about like I went to school for business. They didn't tell me anything about this stuff. I had to learn all this as I was building these different businesses. So I'm like, hold on,
right,
what did
right.
I sign up for? But I think ultimately, though, the thing I love about business and being an entrepreneur is that you get to set, your goals and whatever you want to accomplish. And even with like this podcast, it's been 6 years of me doing this. Not only is it a audio visual podcast, but I also have a radio station that streams 24/7 and an app to go along with it. Now, yeah, and it's on Apple and Android devices too. So it's in those stores. All I got to do is search the Banked Outt Radio Show. They can download the app, and the app's for free. Um, but then also now I'm focusing more on production stuff as well. I started a production company back in December. Now that has four other people along with it, so I don't have to do everything. But being an entrepreneur, when you like you said in the beginning, start like feeling new interests, and I've been fallen in love with videography and editing now. So
Mm.
now I was like, you know what? Might as well start a business, and I use it for this platform too. But this platform is what helped push that itch, and I kept on scratching and whatever. And now I was like, wow, all the stuff that I've been able to see, my skill set go up, what I can do now, the talent that I have. Those are the rewards, getting to see that those hours of putting in work and the craft and it actually turning into something into fruition.
Mhm. You've hit a really good point there. And it's a constant growth and learning process. You don't start off knowing everything, but as you go, you kind of see where the gaps are. And the good, successful, great entrepreneurs are the ones that are going to try and fill those gaps. Not necessarily that you want to do everything yourself and keep everything on your plate forever, but you want to have an idea of how to do certain things. You want to be able to pursue your passions. And as you become less passionate about some things, then you can appropriately hire and slide those things onto the next person, so that where they're still passionate about it and still feeling fulfilled by it. And you yourself can continue to feel fulfilled in your business by doing the next thing that you need to do to grow. And you also hit another great point about how, that's definitely something with entrepreneurship. You don't know how long sometimes you have to do something before you see the reward or the result. It may seem like that's something that I learned. It may seem like nothing is happening. This isn't working. This isn't worth it. But it doesn't happen just like that. We want it to be instant, but big facts, it just always isn't that way. Most of the time, it isn't that way. And I think a lot of persons in business, a lot of businesses, they say would fail before it hits the 5-year mark. And it's because I think some people give up too soon.
Yeah.
And perhaps a lot of people also feel like, well, I should be making millions in the first year. Also not the way it works,
Well,
or most of the time, unless it's like you're 25 and you're into NFTs or something,
yeah.
like it doesn't really that's not most people's path or story. So it is really like having that like grit to like stick it out, that determination, that willingness to keep growing, having the beginner's mind and not thinking that you know everything. Keeping that open mind, being willing to get positive feedback, knowing how to filter through some of the other stuff that might be coming at you. So all of that is so true. And entrepreneurship is definitely, it's a journey. It's not all, it's definitely, to me, more good than bad, more positive than negative, I think. And we're staying in it. There will be times that there are going to be some like rough times in business, whether that is, it could be things that are financial. It could be things that are going on within a team. There's always so much going on in a business. Like I said, it's a living thing. So we have to just, as it's like a child. It's like growing and changing, and, you have to be there and stick with it through all the different stages. Mothers don't usually most mothers don't abandon their kid, even if it's even if they're going through a rough time, even in the teenage years, they usually stick it out. So, it's kind of like that same concept. Like you stick with it. And, if you got to change it, sometimes you may feel like you got to rip the whole thing down to the studs and build it back up, and if that's what it takes, then, you do that, but you don't look at it as, maybe an abandonment or giving up. Sometimes you need to take a break. It's okay to take breaks. I learned that too. And you just keep going. You find the strength and the will to just keep going, keep moving forward.
I love that you use that analogy. It's like a child. I tell people that all the time. So, we're on the same thinking path.
Yes.
Tell people
Yes.
business is just like a child. What you put into is what you're going to get out of it. Um, some people don't put enough into their kids. Um, but what challenges do you think you face now in adderley physiotherapy? I want to say physical therapy.
You almost could. It's the same. It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Um,
But
but then also,
challenging.
what do you want to accomplish, like, by the end of the year?
By the end of the year, like there are so many. I would say the challenges now would be that I want to change. Like I want to be viewed as more than a therapist. I realize that I really love business. I want what I'm facing is I feel sometimes like that fight for to have people see you as not just one thing, and to accept that you want to grow and you want to change, and you don't want to just be one thing anymore. You want to be more than that.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be met with some resistance, because I think, particularly in my culture, people kind of like the old way. So they're comfortable viewing you as this one thing. And then you kind of start to change, and it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So it's been a lot of changes for me over the last year, So I see a lot of things in my future and coming to fruition. So there's going to be a lot of changes, because Adley Physiotherapy no longer covers the scope of what I would like to do. So, we're going to be having a whole lot of changes coming up. So, like, for instance, I'm kind of like changing how people can find me online. So I'm now at I am Dr. Felicia on pretty much every social platform. We're still Adderley Physiotherapy on Facebook, but Instagram, Twitter, I believe Pinterest, Clubhouse, YouTube, you'll find me at I am Dr. Felicia. So I'm looking at bringing on stream and being more consistent with my other platforms. So for instance, I started live streaming last year, January, every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So I've been consistent with that this entire time. I don't care, rain, shine, travel. I don't care if I don't care if the electricity is off, if the internet is down, I'm going to find a way, and I'm going to live stream every Thursday at 7. And that's to Facebook, Instagram, and now YouTube as well. But I want to start bringing on stream some of the other platforms and being more consistent on those as well. So very, very active on Instagram, but I want to bring in more of the YouTube aspect as well. And, start doing more videos, as well as, just more planned out videos, because I'm streaming to YouTube right now, but I want to have much more content. I want to bring my blog back on stream. We have so many things going on. So I'll be launching also my health coaching course this year. That should be out before this year is done. So Abundant Wellness, I want people to look out for that. Definitely, I hope the persons will give me a follow at I am Dr. Felicia, so that they can stay abreast of all of these different changes. We have
Or doctor spelled out.
It is I am Dr. Dr. Felicia, Felicia. And that's where persons can find me. Very, very active on Instagram. So that's like the main platform. But also connect with me on whatever platform is your favorite or your choice. We have products that are going to be coming out this year. We're going to be doing health and wellness retreats. We have so much coming on stream. So definitely, like, don't miss it. It's going to be like every month is going to be something happening. We have a dance class, a collaboration coming up this weekend. So for persons that maybe don't like to exercise, like let me go and lift, let me go to the gym, let me go running. If people just want to have fun and kind of not even notice that they're really exercising, but dance is a great way to do it. So I have a collaboration with a choreographer, Mariana Martinez, coming up this Saturday. And if persons go to bit.ly/dancefit and the number 2, bit.ly/dancefit2, they can find out more about dance classes coming up this Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern. For who wants to jump in on that, we just have tons of, we run challenges. So for people that kind of want to get a taste of what it's like to work with me as a health coach, but maybe they're not ready to fully commit to one-on-one, then that gives them a chance to kind of like see what it's like, be around other like-minded people. We got the Facebook group going, Wealthy and Wise, WELL, and Wise. So we have a couple of things going on. Let's see. We have a ton going on. Like, it's like I said, like with entrepreneurship is so much. There's so much that I want to accomplish and do. And the idea is just that I want to help women to live better, healthier lives and to be here longer for their families, be able to pass some healthier habits along to their kids, because a lot of us didn't come up with the best habits. So, and what the kids see you do is what they're going to grow up and do. So we don't want people to end up with, having to have diabetes and dealing with obesity and hypertension and just being stuck popping pills and not being able to really get around and move. Persons are kind of like breaking down by the time they're in their 50s and 60s, when they could be healthy well into and beyond those years and be able to do the things that they love longer, instead of being like, confined to a wheelchair or having limbs amputated or having this horrible arthritis pain that that causes them to not be able to function, get around, move, run around with kids and grandkids. So I realized through being a therapist that prevention is really the key, and that there are some really simple things that we could be doing with nutrition and the way that we move. And instead of us really doing so much harm to ourselves, we could really help ourselves out, when we're in our 20s and 30s and 40s, and not have to like deal with the body breaking down at such a young age. So that's really what it's all about. So that's what it's really all centered around for me right now. And that's what all the efforts really rotate around and come back to, is really how to help particularly women find time in their day to move more. We're all busy. We don't necessarily have like that time to say, oh, we can like come home and cook a elaborate, healthy meal every day, but helping you to find ways to find that time to meal prep. Because what happens is you don't have time to cook. So you stop and you get something that's fast, and the fast food is not good food. So, it's all kind of like a vicious cycle for a lot of people. And I just want to help more people get out of the cycle. So that's what it's really all about. That's what it's become all about for me. Now, don't just come to me after you're hurt. Come and let's get this house together ahead of time, and let's get ahead of the situation.
Yeah, so you're on a mission.
Yes. Yes, it's a lot. It's a lot.
No, it is. Hey, I definitely get it. And I just followed you on Instagram. So I want to see these lives and stuff.
Got a lot going on. I like you. I got a lot going on.
Yeah, got a lot going on. Well, ma'am, I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. We're definitely gonna have to pick, the future date, so to see what you're doing in the future. I wish you much more success. But just go ahead and reiterate social media so people can follow, things of that nature.
Awesome. Let's see. So thank you for having me. First of all, I really appreciate this opportunity. Congratulations to you on building up such a successful, dedicated, and large following. Okay. Keep going. It's definitely worth it. So I'll be following you as well to see what you all are up to. And I would love to come back on a future date as well. People can find me online at I am Dr. Felicia Felicia. They can find me under that name on Instagram, on YouTube, on Pinterest, on Clubhouse, on TikTok, on Twitter, and on Snapchat. On Facebook, we are Adderley Physiotherapy. Keep abreast of the changes. There's going to be lots coming up soon. Again, the dance classes this weekend. If you follow me, you'll get more information on that. If you want to jump in to help yourself get started to get fit, getting started is the hardest part for most people. And if anybody would like to download a freebie just to help you get started, you can download. I have a document that's called the 10 Tips for a Healthier Future. You can find it at bit.ly/Felicia PT, P as in Paul, T as in Tim. All right. And thanks again for having me. I've enjoyed this so much. I appreciate this opportunity and the mission, as you say. If I was just going to state it in one sentence, it would be to make the world healthier, one woman at a time.